Let's do a little bit of color grading and show you that, and then let's talk a little bit about bringing different kinds of video on here and putting some titles, okay? So first of all, let's look at this. That looks pretty nice, doesn't it? It's nice and green. Hey, here's a cool tip for you. If you ever want to see how this thing looks full screen, just click on this screen so that the yellow goes all the way around it, right? And then just press your tilde key. That's the upper key there beside your 1, the exclamation point 1 on your keyboard, and you got this kind of thing. Then you can pull this all the way back and you can watch your piece of video full. Ah, crap! Now look at that. Here, go here, and you can watch it full screen and hit play. Okay, so I hit tilde again to get out of it. But let's look at our piece of video here and let's say, okay, you know what? That could be a little richer. Tony, you blew out your colors just a little too much here. Well, let's talk a little bit. I'm going to close my music up about what I can do to improve the look of this video. This is going to be just very basic, super basic color grading 101. I would say that 90% of what I do, I use brightness contrast and an effect called fast color corrector. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go where I have the CONS here. I'm going to put BRIGH, that's for brightness contrast. I'm going to pull it onto this piece of video where I'm reviewing right now, right? Everything I'm affecting here is affecting this. So nothing's happened right yet, nothing at all. I'm also going to go here, I'm going to type fast, F-A-S-T. I'm going to pull fast color corrector onto this piece of video. Now right now I have 2 effects on that video clip, but I've not done anything with it yet. I've not told it what to do with those 2 effects. The way you know what to do is up here there's a tab called Effects Control. So I'm going to click on Effects Control. And look at this humongous wheel here. I like to pull this thing back a little so these things are not so big. I have 2 effects. I have brightness, contrast, and fast color on this. Now I'm going to look at this piece of video here. I'm going to say, you know what? Geez, it could be that I've blown this out a little bit. I just used auto. I'm going to click on this little, the brightness, if the brightness contrast isn't open, just click the little arrow, then it will open. Same way with fast color corrector. You can toggle these things up and down by clicking these little arrows here. So I'm going to leave them both open. I'm going to click down on the brightness and contrast. I'm just going to play for a minute here and see what I want. So what's more important about this? Is it more important I see these people or that I have a pretty view of this area? I'm going to say in this instance that I have a preview of this area. And I think I've got it too bright. So I'm going to pull the brightness back just a little bit, and let's just toy a little bit with it. Yeah, I kind of like that a little bit better. Now we got a little more richness to that color here. I'm also going to go down here now. If this had a sort of a sheen to it, if it were too blue or too red or whatever, if I can go here to this color wheel and I can change the whole tone just by dragging this thing in the center, left or right. I'm going to leave it pretty much dead center though, because I think I'm okay with the tone of this. I think it needs more saturation. And right down here, there's a lot of things you can change. You just go here and play around. I do encourage you to play with all these little white levels and things like that settings. But I'm going to go to saturation, twirl this down. I'm going to saturate this just a little more. And look at that. It makes it almost emerald green. And in truth, it really was emerald green there. Maybe I've gone just a little bit too dark with this. Let's brighten it back up just a little. That looks pretty lively to me. Now I'm going to twirl the little V up or the little arrow back up here. And let's do a little bit before after look at this and see if I've done anything that's worth keeping or not. What I can do, I can turn my brightness contrast off by clicking this little FX here. I can do my fast color corrector. So that's the raw video with nothing, right? Then I did this, then I did this. To me, that's a better looking video. That looks pretty sweet. So I'm going to leave that. I'm going to come here. I'm going to do the same sort of thing. Oh, now let's say that we just have a hunch that the same thing that worked for this one will work for this one. I'm going to go back up here. I've still got the first clip selected. I'm going to click on brightness, and I'm going to hold my control key down and click on fast color. So I held the control down. I clicked both of those. Now I'm going to do a Control C to copy. Then I'm going to click on this video here. I'm going to say paste, Control V. And there you go. It automatically added those settings I had from the other clip of video onto this one. Let's say this one needs the same treatment. I'm going to go here. Okay, now I could go up in here and I could say Control V or paste. It really doesn't matter. Or you can just click on this and do that. Now let's say that this one I decide, okay, well, you know, crap, that's just a little too dark on this one. No problem. You've got your two, without having to go get these effects again, you just go up here to your brightness contrast and you go, you know, you brighten it up a little bit. And maybe you increase the contrast a little. Maybe that's what you want here. I sound like Bob Ross talking about Pretty Little Trees. But so there you go. Now that totally unaffected this. What you did, you changed just this clip. You didn't change your brightness contrast on these other ones, these previous ones. So you've got totally independent. Let's look at this now. Sweet. Okay. So now we have some color graded, very rudimentary color grade. Now there's an awesome thing called three-way, T-A-H-R-E, three-way color corrector. I probably ought to do a whole nother video about just what all you can do with three-way color corrector. It's awesome. But I'm here to tell you 90% of the time, fast color corrector, brightness contrast is going to really improve your video quality and the way it looks. Let's go ahead. This is Mabry Mill in near Metazodan and on the Blue Ridge Parkway in Virginia. It's an awesome place to go. I highly recommend you go visit this place. It's an ingenious spot. Enough of me bragging on that locale, though. I just love the Blue Ridge Mountains. But let's put a title. We want people to know what we're seeing when they go here, right? So this brings up titles. Back over here in this project menu, you're going to click on this window. We're going to say File, New, Title. Okay. And Title 1, that's fine. We could call it Mabry Mill, M-A-B-R-Y-M-I-L-L. This really doesn't matter what you call it here. This is just so you'll be able to stay organized over here. But I'm going to say OK. It knows that we're working with 1080p video, 1920 by 1080. So there we go. I'll say OK. Now, the reason nothing happened on your screen is I have my screen set up so that it comes up there on the other side. So my bad. Let me pull this over. What should have popped up is this. That's actually what popped up on my other screen. I have another screen over here. So anyway, here's where I want to build my title. And so it automatically comes up by default where the type tool is here. A couple ways you can do lower thirds. You can just put the text on the screen here. A lot of people like to put boxes underneath it or like to use templates. Now this brings up a point. If it's the first time you've used Creative Cloud, Premiere Pro, and you've loaded it onto your computer, you subscribe to Adobe, you probably don't have all the templates that come with Creative Cloud. There are all these templates that you've got. You have these corporate, abstract, all these really cool, little lower thirds and stuff. All these are editable. You don't have to go with that's weird looking. We probably don't want that. Here's Blueprint. These are like things that you'd use for DVD menus and things. You got these lower thirds, what these things are called, where you see and you put the name over it. So there are like hundreds of them here that they give you. You got education, entertainment, general. Here's like Blue Sky. I don't know what this is. I haven't gone through some of these. You can just segue through all these different. Here's one's called Inspire. It's probably like a church type thing or something, I guess. Yeah, it looks like something you'd use for maybe a church or some inspirational thing. And maybe you want to go with something like that. Well, here's the deal. You have to load that content from Adobe. What you want to do, you want to search for Premiere Pro or After Effects or what's the other program? I can't remember. The one you do DVDs in. Why my brain going? At any rate, you have to look for the functional content and you have to download it separately. So look for Adobe Premiere Pro or Adobe After Effects functional content, and it will bring in all these lower thirds. For the purpose of what we're doing today, I'm not going to use a template. I'm going to show you how to kind of build your own. First of all, let's say that you had a very high contrast area and you want to just put text down here. You want to say Mabry Mill. Well, I have the text tool selected and I'm drawing a box here. I just did a left click. I'm drawing a box. I'm kind of going, these blocks here show you what they call title safe areas. If you're using a television that has sort of a kind of a frame around it, you probably don't want to go outside of this. On the internet, every one of these pixels will show on YouTube, so I very seldom even care about these lines. I just use them for guidelines. So right now I got a blinking cursor over here, It comes up, at least on my computer, by Adobe Arabic is the first, I guess because it's alphabetically the first font. I'm going to pick a font that I like called Myriad, M-Y-R-I-A-D, Myriad Pro I like a lot. I know I like kind of the semi-bold version of it. Let's see, darn it, Myriad Pro, here we go, semi-bold. So this one lets you pick the font up here, this one lets you pick the style of the font. So I've got a Myriad Pro semi-bold, and so if I type in here, I'm going to say Mabry Mill. Mabry Mill. You know what? I think I want bold. I'm going to go over all that. I'm going to pick the true bold version of that font. And you know what? It's very small. I want it to be font size. Let's go about, gee whiz, like 140 here. 140. So right there's your font size. And I want it to be centered. So up here's your center key. So where you left, right, justify, and all that up here. So now I've got a white font against a very white background. That's not going to work, is it? Two things I can do. I can put a box behind it. I can change the color of the font to be black or something, or I can put a drop shadow behind it. Most of the times people will maybe even keep a white. They'll just put a drop shadow. And right down here's your shadow. You click on that. Now it puts a very subtle, almost not even there shadow. I'm going to go to about 70% on the shadow. And then I'm going to change the size of the shadow to, let's say, 10 pixels. And maybe it's going to go about 20 pixels. I can change the spread down here. This is where it says 30 to 40. Distance is 10. That's probably going to be, you know what, I'm going to go back to 30. And let's take a look at that. So that's not going to be too bad. I can see my Mabry Mill is okay there. Now, if I did want to go the other way and put a box behind it, I can certainly do that. I can take this rectangle tool and I can draw like a lower third type box. And look, it's automatically sort of adopted my shadow there. I didn't realize it was going to do that. So now I have this. Let's say I want to make this a color. Over here is where you pick your color. See up here? So let's say I'm going to go here and pick a color. I'm going to pick, I don't know, somewhere. I could have pulled a green out of over here. I'm going to go ahead and pull a green over in here somewhere. Something very kind of darkish maybe. Okay. And now I'm going to do a right click on this and I'm going to say position, arrange, send to back. And now I have a nice box for this Mabry Mill. Maybe I now want my Mabry Mill to be smaller. So I'm clicking on the T again up here. And I'm going to get back, edit, undo, Control Z. Now what just happened there, it just put a new text box on. I'm going to click on the Mabry Mill. Now, what I did, I clicked on the little pointer here. Sometimes you have to do this because it gets kind of stuck. I don't know why. Now I clicked on the T again. Now I should be able to go into my Mabry Mill. Well, darn. Come on, now there we go. Pull across it. Let's go back down to 115. 115 looks good. And now I could put Virginia or something on there. See, I got it left justified. Now might be the time if I want to use a lower third that I want to go right justified or something, or left justified. We can pick that. We can pull this thing back over here. Mabry Mill. Southern. Now here's the reason I'm doing this. It's good for you to see. You can actually change your font size inside this. I'm going to go down and make this smaller. Probably should have made my dash smaller too. Southern Virginia. And now, presto, we've got kind of a lower third here. I'm going to save it. I'm going to close this. Now, we don't see that lower third here yet. You actually have to drag it down here onto the timeline. So I'm putting it on video 2. Video 2 is a layer that's on top of the video we've already done. Now, I don't want that probably to abruptly come in. I want it to cross dissolve in. So I'm going to go back over here into effects. I'm going to do CROSS, cross dissolve. I'm going to pull this one over the end and let this kind of lower third sort of subtly fade in here. And I'd kind of like probably for it to subtly fade out right along here. I'm going to change the amount of time it's on the screen. That needs to be on screen just a little longer than that maybe. And I can see that the bottom of my Y is touching the green. See, this is what's kind of cool. When you see it on the screen, you may decide, you know what, that's not what I wanted at all. let me go back. You can either double click on this and edit it, or you can double click down here. I'm going to do that. I'm going to double click. I'm going to say, you know, my Mabry mill is it needs to be just bumped up a little bit. So I've got my selection tool, the pointer. I'm just going to hit my up arrow, and I'm just subtly pulling it up just a little bit so that the bottoms of the Y's don't hit the box that I made underneath it. Now I'm going to hit save again, close, and we'll see that now it's not crowding the bottom anymore. So now I've got a title, I've got some music, I've done some color grading, and I've put a few transitions and things on here. Now let's say I wanted to do a voiceover.